Hello everybody, I hope you had a fun and safe Christmas and enjoyed your New Year's celebrations without spreading anything around that wasn't festive joy. It's a brand new year full of optimism and hope for the future that all the coconut cake will go away at some point. You know how the world has all this coconut cake floating around that scientists are working really hard to get rid of? Yeah, I got some of that, but I'm feeling pretty good. Just a cough. I reckon I got a bit lucky because I'm healthy enough to sit in front of a microphone, and the coconut cake has hit people a lot harder, so I will take that. Instead of dwelling on any of that though, I'd much rather look ahead to the new year with renewed hope that video games can be a satisfactory distraction from all the world's problems, and that 2021 brings in a new golden age of video gaming or something. A futurist I am not, but I do talk about video games a lot, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. I have made similar videos to this in the past, but you might remember that because of the coconut cake, we didn't get E3 2020 last year, which means that most upcoming video games were announced quite quietly, and most long-term games, like your Elder Scrolls 6s and your Elden Rings, I suppose, we haven't had many updates to their progress, so it's hard to pin down whether or not a game is coming out in 2021. It makes my job a lot harder to seem like I know what I'm talking about, because I kinda don't really know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of speculation, a lot of guesswork. These are games that I'm just generally excited about that might come out this year. It doesn't really matter, since I've got a history of talking about games that might come out during a year that are way off being ready, because I talked about Death Stranding for a few years, I talked about Final Fantasy VII for a few years, so there's no integrity to keep up, but in order to make my life easier, I'm not going to rank any of these, because I actually have no confidence that any of them are going to come out this year. If coconut cake can delay any video games, then frankly this is a stab in the dark at best. Also, the video being super casual like this means that I don't have to do too much work during a week where I've eaten too much coconut cake, so this is probably for the best for a lot of different reasons. Now, the best place for me to start is with the game that I'm most excited for, and it didn't take me very long to work out what that was. Again, it comes with a proviso that the game actually comes out this year, but I'm putting at least a little bit of faith in the fact that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, whatever it ends up being called, not so sure at the moment, it surely has to come out this year, because it would be Zelda's 35th anniversary, so it would make a lot of sense, even if Breath of the Wild came out on the 31st anniversary of the franchise, and kind of missed 2016 by a year, so I don't really know, but this is a very important game for Nintendo, because I can't think of too many things they have in the pipeline that would likely come out this year. Don't be surprised if Nintendo drops some kind of direct or some kind of series of announcements that outlines their 2021 in a bit more detail than we currently have, but currently this is the game I'm most excited for in the pipeline for any company, so it's worth talking about. And it is a great opportunity for Nintendo to make a sequel to Breath of the Wild that leans into more traditional Zelda stuff. Because Breath of the Wild was great, but we could stand to make some changes and to make some alterations around, like you can add dungeons into the mix now, maybe like a more humanoid Ganondorf based on the trailer. It looks like we might get something like that. And supposedly it's a darker story in general, so I don't really know what exactly they're going to do with this game, but if Mario's anniversary is anything to go by, not only should we get this celebration of some kind with Zelda, but we might also get some kind of Zelda anniversary collection to look forward to that is a little bit better than Super Mario 3D All-Stars was. But then again, we didn't get Super Mario Odyssey 2 last year, but that wasn't exactly in the pipeline. I don't know, we didn't get a trailer for Super Mario Odyssey, but we do have a trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know, Super Mario Odyssey 2 might not even exist, but some people seem to think it does. I don't know, I just want Breath of the Wild 2. And it's not just a big year for Zelda, because it's also a pretty massive year for Pokemon. I believe it's the 30th anniversary, and honestly, I have no idea what they're going to do with the franchise. Game Freak are in a weird position where they're basically finished with Sword and Shield after the Crown Tundra DLC, so I'm not so sure what that means for new Pokemon generations or a remake of Gen 4, but the only thing that I can see might happen next year, it's actually this year. 2020 is gone, you never have to worry about it ever again. The only thing I can see being kinda set in stone for this year would be new Pokemon Snap, which is a ridiculous thing that has happened. It's a new Pokemon Snap game 22 years after the last one, and frankly, I think it'd be quite exciting to see what Nintendo are planning to do with this and what Bandai Namco are going to do with Pokemon Snap. Actual confirmed Pokemon games are in short supply at the moment, but we could be getting a new Pokemon Snap game in 2021, which probably won't get a name change. It'll be like, you know, New Super Mario Bros. That kind of signified a reimagining of a classic style of gaming? I don't know, but it's going to be fun. It looks beautiful. It's an interesting game anyway because it's an on-rail shooter, but it doesn't feel like it because you're just taking pictures. But I love the original. Hopefully the new one is going to be good. You're going to see a lot of that because a lot of the games that are coming out this year, potentially, are sequels. So a lot of my summary of them are going to be, hey, I enjoyed the original, hope the sequel's just as good. I don't know. Which brings me along to No More Heroes 3, because I would imagine it comes out in 2021. It relies on the fact that Goichi Suda and his team are able to craft this game under the strenuous time constraints and social distancing of the coconut cake pandemic, but it was great to see so much support for No More Heroes after so long in relative wilderness, because the first two games are on the Switch. Travis Strikes Again was a lot of fun, but it wasn't much of a continuation of traditional No More Heroes gameplay, and I would very much like to see what a new No More Heroes game would look like after a fairly lengthy period of time from 2. You got Suda51 with brand new technology, and he's already screwed around with it with Travis Strikes Again, so I kind of want to see what you can do with the technology in a more traditional No More Heroes game, and with renewed enthusiasm and a keenness for all the crap that No More Heroes does on a daily basis. And I feel like No More Heroes should become more of a popular franchise now that people have played the first two on the Switch, and, you know, here's a third one. Enjoy it. They're really good games. These aren't in any kind of order, these aren't ranked, but they're roughly based on console, and for some reason, it doesn't really matter, but I have Hollow Knight Silksong next, because I imagine you're going to be able to play it on the Switch. I think that was my only thought process behind that. A new Hollow Knight game after various content packs and DLCs in recent years is quite a wonderful thing to be looking forward to. We don't get many indie games with sequels, because the idea of making a sequel to an indie game is a little bit of a weird concept, because a lot of indie devs really cram the original game with lots of content and then just add content packs on top of it. So Hollow Knight Silksong will be a bit unique in that regard, but also in recent years, the indie games that do get sequels for like a Spelunky 2, Ori and the Will of the Wisps have been really incredible. So Hollow Knight, the original game, was incredible. The idea of a sequel, I kind of want a second game. That'd be very exciting. The original took plenty of ideas from Metroidvania games, with also a sprinkle of Dark Souls world building, and frankly, I would really like to see them develop further in a sequel. I don't know much about Silksong because I didn't do much research, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. So how about some Halo Infinite? That's a game which some people remember. I can't imagine that Halo Infinite will get delayed again. It was supposed to come out as an Xbox Series X launch title, but was delayed because of the coconut cake crisis. Wow, that's hard to say. The crisis of coconut cake. There's too much coconut cake. I remember looking at the Halo Infinite trailer, and I remember it making headlines because the graphics were a little bit turned down, but it also has this very open style of gameplay, which may kind of tie into the theme of the game. I don't think it's an open world video game, but apparently it's due to be the last Halo game for about a decade, so A, it has to be good, which isn't an automatic thing, because Halo 5 wasn't all that good, but B, it has to be good in a way that keeps people occupied for 10 years, and that is a hard thing to be doing. I don't think Halo Infinite will be any kind of procedurally generated ultimate Halo experience that goes on forever, but it still has to be quite good. As a new Halo game to play on your new Xbox, it kinda has a bit of weight behind it, and hopefully the delays were necessary to help it become more of an impressive video game. I don't know, but I sure as shit know that people aren't going to care about graphics if it's actually a good Halo game again, because Halo 5 looks nice, plays like shit, but you know, what's more important these days? I have Far Cry 6 in my notes, and that is a little strange because I have not felt much playing a Far Cry game in a very long time, but the only thing I'm really interested with this game is because Giancarlo Esposito is the villain, so you can assure yourself that the story's gonna be at least a little bit interesting, and it's gonna be acted incredibly well, and even if it's not interesting, he'll make the story more interesting just by his presence. If anything that man is in is better because of it. And I say that no Far Cry game really has given me anything to feel recently, but to be fair, Far Cry 5 felt fresh because the conflict was somewhere close to home, and it felt like it was more of a Far Cry culturally than geographically, so I thought that was kind of a clever take on the style of these games that do tend to blend together a bit. So Far Cry 6 has to try to maintain this momentum with a different setting. It looks like a fictional Cuba-like country, so it's more of a traditional Far Cry game in that sense, but it has to try and be unique. These days, it's actually really easy to get Just Cause and Far Cry games confused for their premises because they seem to blend together really well, and that's not actually a good thing, because Just Cause is a lot more slapdash than Far Cry's been at its peak, and the characters in Far Cry games generally are better than Just Cause, but conceptually you're going to a far off land and blowing the shit out of it, so it just becomes a bit hard to distinguish between the two. And Far Cry games are always fun little tech demos for Ubisoft to show off their talents with the new technology, but they are often victims to the most predictable tropes of any of Ubisoft's games, so finding that balance with Far Cry 6, it should be interesting to watch in real time. We may also get a new Resident Evil game this year. Resident Evil Village should be pretty dope. It's technically Resident Evil 8, but Capcom wants to underline the fact that the village is important. They're calling it another character, another unique thing within the game. It's not just a clever way of hiding the Roman numerals for the number 8. But to what extent the village is important is hard to tell. Is it like the village at the start of Resident Evil 4 that was significant for that one moment in the game, but actually across the story it's not that important? Do you move from the village? Is the village where all the story happens? Is it just a big village? That's called a town. Resident Evil Town doesn't sound quite as exciting. It sounds like Animal Crossing now, so I don't know, the village seems important. Maybe it's full of people. And of course, Resi 8, which is technically what it is, continues the first-person perspective change from Resi 7, and it'll be worth playing to see how it continues using this new perspective to increase things like atmosphere, because the original Resident Evil game's very good at that, and then they became a bit more actiony with 4, 5, and 6, but 7 was very much back to horror, back to first-person horror, which is something that, at that point, Resident Evil hadn't done, and felt more like Outlast at times, but that is good, because Outlast is fucking terrifying. I have no idea what Chris Redfield is doing in this game, but it looks confusing, and I like that because it means that I can't predict what he's gonna do. The Resident Evil canon is all over the place, so why not screw with things further? What honestly do you have to lose? Oh hey, what about Deathloop? That's a fun game because it's made by the same studio behind Dishonored and Prey, that being Arcane Studios, and you really can tell by the style of the game and roughly how characters move around in it. It's the same kind of game as Dishonored, with stylish stealth kills but with a 60s, 70s aesthetic, and that is a nice blend of things to be doing with a game. Weirdly, it's a timed exclusive for the PS5, but Microsoft plan to buy ZeniMax, who own Arcane Studios, so effectively Microsoft are going to buy a studio that's making a game that they can't even put on their consoles until a little bit later, so good job Microsoft. There's this time looping mechanic where everything resets after 24 hours, so you can go wild with assassinations. I think you've got to kill 8 people in 24 hours, because after that time, no one's going to remember anything after the reset apart from you, which is kind of the opposite mechanic to Dishonored, where they remembered all your actions, and it might make for a more chaotic experience. If you don't kill all the 8 people in 24 hours, you've got to use that knowledge to learn the fastest way through to kill all your targets, and I kind of like that a lot. It's very clever. It's like a puzzle game in a way with some stealthy assassinations. There's also a multiplayer feature where you can invade someone else's game and stop their assassination attempts, which is very Dark Souls, you know, not in that way, but I will enjoy ruining people's days again. I just have to do that now. Hey, does anybody else remember Overwatch 2? I forget about it very often. I feel like Blizzard does as well, but they revealed this game at a time when their public image was a bit tarnished for various reasons, but it felt like they rushed a trailer out to help appease some fans, and it distracted us a little bit for a little while, because, hey, apparently Overwatch is exciting again. Apparently they're making the game they always wanted to make. Rather than a solely PvP experience, we're actually going to have some lore and some campaign missions where you can, you know, fight with your friends in PvE stuff. Hey, that's kind of exciting. I quite like that. I did enjoy Overwatch for quite a number of years, but after a few updates, I feel like the balance was thrown to one side, and online matches were filled with people who were so resentful towards what Overwatch was that it just wasn't a fun time. So maybe with this game, they can try and claw back some of the original magic of the game and make the game more balanced in a way that doesn't feel like they're just introducing another character with a stun mechanic. You know, Overwatch has a lot of characters now, so it's going to be interesting to see how many launch with Overwatch 2 if the game comes out this year, of course, because I know we've had that original trailer, but that was like 2019 and we haven't heard much since. So honestly, it's a relative stab in the dark to say that Overwatch 2 will come out this year, but Blizzard have fucked up Warcraft 3, so they might need something to just distract people from their ultimately very bad business practices. And oh damn, do you want a lightning round? Because I'm gonna give you a lightning round right now. I've got a list of games here that I don't really want to go into massive amounts of detail on, mainly because, like, we don't really know that much, and we kind of know little pieces about them, but they're still important video games that may come out this year, who the fuck knows? God of War Ragnarok, it's a sequel to God of War from 2018, that was a good game. I'd like to see exactly how this is going to go with Ragnarok. Is it going to have Taika Waititi voicing some rock creature, just cracking jokes all the time? I really hope it does. Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. I quite enjoyed the first game. I sure hope the sequel is kind of pretty amazing. You can sense that Sony are trying to turn Aloy into some kind of mascot for their new generation of games, and frankly, good luck to them, because she's a fun character to be around. Little Nightmares 2, another sequel. Enjoyed the first game, hope the sequel's kind of good. It was always a unique, stylized, kind of cutesy horror game, and I would like to see what they're going to do for a sequel, because honestly, that as a concept has so much potential. Just do more of it, make it grander if you have to, or don't, I don't really mind. Just give me more of it. Persona 5 Strikers finally coming to the West. Technically came out last year, but it's a crossover style thing between Persona and Dynasty Warriors, so you've got stylized combat in a way that really suits Persona, so I'm very much looking forward to see what ridiculous things they can do with that and how just beautiful it's going to be to look at in motion. I've got the Medium on here, but I did actually no research, so I'm just going to look that up for you right now. It comes out in a few weeks. The next gen horror medium, the Fast the Medium, evokes Silent Hill in new gameplay trailer. Oh shit, let's go. Look, I like new horror games. Anything that reminds me of Silent Hill, the PT playable teaser, I'm going to be interested in, so more of that will be nice. I'm skimming through 14 minutes. Oh, looks good. Oh, that was some funny noises. Looks bizarre. I love it. Axiom Verge 2, a sequel to Axiom Verge. Axiom Verge, wonderful Metroidvania game. More of a Metroid game than a Vania game, and has some amazing music, has some amazing set design. I just want more of it. Yes, please. Bravely Default 2 is confusing to me, because I'm pretty sure we had a sequel to Bravely Default. It was called Bravely Second. It was very clever how they named that. But apparently Bravely Default 2 is coming out this year, and that's exciting to me because I enjoyed the first game until it got really bad, so hopefully this game is good for longer. Metroid Prime 4 is not going to come out this year because they have not done much with that game since they changed development teams, but I have to talk about it because we haven't seen it for a while. It's going to be a game. I don't know. It's not coming out this year. Who knows? Bayonetta 3. We have heard nothing about this game for about 4 years, 3 years maybe. Probably won't come out this year, but we may hear some news, maybe a trailer. I don't know what Hideki Kamiya is doing, but I want him to show me this game because Bayonetta's been pretty good. Nier Automata was pretty good. Platinum Games know what they're doing. They haven't got Scalebound to worry about anymore. Just bring me some Bayonetta, please. Sable? What's Sable? Why do I write these notes down and then not actually look at the fucking game? Open world exploration video game in which the player as the young girl Sable searches for a fitting rite of passage. Yeah, that sounds good. Put that on a pile. I like it. 12 minutes. Now I do know this one. I did research for this one. It's where like a police officer kills you and then frames your wife for the murder or something, and you've got like a problem-solving puzzle adventure game to play in the 12 minutes before this murder or something. I don't know, that's a wild premise, and that sounds cool. I want that. And then Psychonauts 2, which I think we're getting a bit more information about slowly over the past months, or maybe even like half a year ago. I don't really know. It feels like it was announced actually ages ago, but I'm sure it's going to be good. You know, is Tim Schafer still working on it? If I could look that one up. Tim Schafer's still working on it. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So anyway, that was a brief run through of some of the upcoming video games for 2021. Tell me, what game are you most excited for this year? Mine is Breath of the Wild 2. Fingers crossed it actually comes out this year. Fingers crossed we get some information on it at some point in the next month or so, because otherwise I'm just gonna seem like a very silly boy for including the video game. But depending on how the coconut cake goes, we may end up with E3 this year, or we might end up with some kind of virtual showcase of all these upcoming video games. The lack of any E3 2020 has left this being very much a lot of guesswork to try and work out what games are coming out. And even then, the coconut cake crisis, I got it right, may still end up delaying at least a few of these. So take what I'm saying with a huge pinch of salt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try and make some videos going forward that are a bit more free-forming content and not just me reading out a script for like 20 minutes. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more whenever I make a video in the future, which is probably going to be next week. Health permitting, because I've since found out I'm allergic to coconut cake, but I will do my resting and I will work probably in my bed editing this video. So thank you all for watching and stay away from all the coconut cake.